Today's mindful moment.
Have you ever thought, just for a second, that some of those amazing imaginary places might actually be real?
Like Narnia.
Exactly. For Edmund and Lucy Pevensey, it wasn't just imagination. A normal-looking room in their aunt's house was, well, a doorway.
A gateway. Straight back to Narnia.
So today, we're kind of stepping through that doorway with them. We're looking at the very start of their journey east on the ship, the Dawn Treader.
And it's all through their eyes, Edmund and Lucy's, plus their, let's say, less than enthusiastic cousin, Eustace.
Right. It begins in Lucy's room, a place they'd talked about Narnia loads of times. Then, bam, they're back. Water everywhere, and there's King Caspian.
It's like coming home for them. Pure joy, really. A reunion right there on the deck of Caspian's ship.
But for poor Eustace, it's a shock, a cold, wet shock.
Definitely not joyful for him. He's just dragged into this completely alien place.
And he's not quiet about it, crying, yelling, demanding to go home. It's quite the contrast to the others.
It really is. You see Edmund and Lucy thrilled, Caspian welcoming them back, and then there's Eustace just having a meltdown.
What does that immediate, intense negativity from Eustace tell us about hitting something totally unexpected?
Well, it shows how much our mindset matters, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Edmund and Lucy are open to it. They know Narnia, so they embrace it.
But Eustace is just stuck in his old ways.
Exactly. He's clinging to what he knows, fighting the newness. So all he feels is misery and, frankly, annoyance. It kind of makes you think, about how we react to new things ourselves.
That initial resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can blind you.
Definitely.
And speaking of discomfort, life on the Dawn Treader, not exactly a luxury cruise for Eustace.
No, not at all. Well, Caspian, being both kingly and a good friend, actually bunks down with Edmund in a lower cabin.
Giving the better cabin, the port one above, to Drunian and Wentz.
Right, because they're actually sailing the ship. It makes sense. Practical leadership.
But Eustace, he's just miserable, seasick all the time.
And constantly worried, asking about storms even when the weather's perfectly fine.
You can just picture Captain Drunian, can't you? Probably found it quite amusing.
Oh, I bet. That dry Narnian wit facing Eustace's nonstop fretting. Caspian's sleeping setup, though, it says a lot about him. Humble, but respects the crew's jobs.
True. But Eustace manages to find other ways to be difficult. He actually picks a fight. Well, gets into a conflict with Reepicheep.
Reepicheep, the bravest, most honorable mouse you'll ever meet.
And Eustace annoys him. Something about manners, I think. It escalates.
To a formal challenge. Reepicheep challenges him to a duel.
Now, here's the funny part. Eustace claims he's a pacifist, against fighting.
Which is pretty rich, given how generally unpleasant he's being.
Right. But Reepicheep, being Reepicheep, takes the duel seriously. Sort of.
He follows the rules.
Yeah.
But since it's not meant to be like actual punishment, he just uses the flat of his little sword.
Can you imagine this tiny, determined mouse whacking away at Eustace?
Who suddenly finds he can run really fast back to the cabin. It's almost comical.
It really shows the gap between how Eustace sees himself and how he acts. And the others, Caspian, Drinian, Edmund, they actually talk about it seriously.
Yeah, they wonder if Eustace would even stand a chance in a proper fight. They even consider giving him a handicap.
It shows just how out of step he is with Narnian values like honor and courage. His apology afterwards is pretty sulky.
He basically retreats to his bunk. Maybe a little moment for him to think, and maybe for us too, about, making sure our actions match what we say we believe.
That's a good point. Understanding the rules of a new place, a new situation. Eustace is struggling hard with that.
His whole experience is kind of a lesson in that, magnified.
So eventually they make landfall, fill him off. Must have felt amazing.
Oh, yeah. Solid ground, the smell of earth, grass, even if they were probably a bit unsteady on their feet at first.
And hearing a lark sing, such a peaceful little detail after being cooped up on the ship.
And it's funny, isn't it? They look back at the Dawn Treader from the shore.
And suddenly it looks really small.
Exactly. After living on it for weeks, seeing it from a distance gives them perspective. A reminder of how big the world is, maybe.
But that peace doesn't last long. They see armed men coming down into the valley.
Rough-looking types. Immediately changes the mood. Danger.
And Caspian makes a smart call, doesn't he? He decides not to reveal who they are.
Very wise. It's been a long time since Narnia had contact with these islands. Who knows if they'd even acknowledge him as king?
Could even be hostile, so better safe than sorry.
It's practical. Protect the crew first.
And that caution turns out to be spot on. They get to Narrow Haven, and these armed guys, they're slavers.
Taking people to sell at the market, it's a sudden, harsh dose of reality. The world out here isn't all adventure. It has its dark sides.
This whole slave trade thing, it shifts the journey, doesn't it? It's not just exploring
I don't
anymore.
know, now there's a real wrong they stumbled upon, something that needs fixing.
And Eustace, bless his heart, in the middle of all this, asks if there's a British consul nearby.
Huh? You just can't make it up. It's so completely out of place, it's almost funny. Shows how little he gets the situation. The slaver just sort of snorts at him.
Yeah, sums it up. Applying his world's rules here just doesn't work.
Not even slightly.
So the four of them, Edmund, Lucy, Eustace, and Caspian, get tied up. Securely, but not cruelly, the text says, and march off.
But even tied up, Reepicheep doesn't quit. He starts absolutely laying into the slave dealer.
Just a stream of insults from this tiny mouth.
It's fierce. But the dealer seems more amused than anything. Even asks if Reepicheep is, like, trained.
Hmm.
A performing mouse.
Shows how little he respects him, or anyone really. Just sees him as a curiosity.
It's pretty demeaning. Reepicheep keeps it up for a while, but eventually I guess he's just overwhelmed by it all and falls silent.
Then they get taken to the slave ship, down below, dark, dirty, with other prisoners, Galmians, Terabinthians.
A really grim, dehumanizing scene puts them right at the bottom, experiencing what others suffer.
But Caspian's story takes a weird turn. He gets bought separately.
By a lord, right? Lord Byrne. And Byrne is struck by how much Caspian looks like. Well, King Caspian.
Incredible luck. Or maybe something more. Fate.
It's definitely a key moment. Even in disguise, there's something about Caspian, a sort of nobility that this lord recognizes.
And Caspian takes a huge risk. He tells Lord Byrne who he really is.
Bold move. But it works. Byrne immediately kneels, swears loyalty. Turns out Byrne hates the slave trade too and was already working against it secretly.
Amazing. So Narnian values are present here, just hidden. Byrne becomes a crucial ally.
Absolutely. They first think about using Byrne's ship to rescue the others, but then they hatch a better plan.
A more direct one. Use the king's name, the idea of the king, to basically intimidate the governor, Gumpus.
Right. They figure Gumpus is probably corrupt and cares more about his own comfort than anything else. A surprise visit from the actual king. That should shake things up. It's a clever strategy.
So they march up to the castle, which sounds pretty run down, actually. Sloppy guards.
The trumpeter blows the fanfare, announces the king of Narnia.
And the guard just mumbles about appointments and his sufficiency, Gumpus being busy.
It's classic bureaucracy, isn't it? Totally unprepared for real authority showing up. Lord Byrne basically has to push past him.
And then they burst in on Gumpus. Caspian and Byrne literally pull him out of his chair.
Talk about making an entrance.
Yeah.
Disrupting his comfortable little world. No more hiding behind paperwork.
Caspian gets straight to the point. What about the tribute Narnia is owed? It hasn't been paid in years. And what about this illegal slave trading?
Gumpus tries to bluster his way through all bureaucratic nonsense. He clearly underestimates Caspian.
But then Caspian mentions that maybe Gumpus himself owes the missing tribute money. Suddenly, Gumpus looks worried.
Hitting him where it hurts. His own pocket. Shows his real motivation, self-preservation. The corruption is plain to see.
And then Caspian spots Pug, the slave trader, right there. He questions him directly.
Leading to that wonderful moment finding Lucy, Edmund, and Reepicheep among the slaves Pug was about to account for.
The relief. Imagine seeing them again after thinking they were lost.
A fantastic reunion. And Caspian makes sure everyone is freed, even Eustace, who probably wasn't top of Pug's list to mention.
And Caspian doesn't stop there. He orders Pug to give refunds to everyone who bought a slave that day.
It's proper justice. Not just freeing people, but trying to undo the financial transaction, make it right as much as possible right then and there.
A really strong statement. But their troubles aren't over, are they? They sail on eastwards, and the weather changes drastically.
Lucy sees it first, looking back. This massive dark storm building up incredibly fast.
The sea gets ugly, the wind shifts, and then it hits them full force.
Sounds terrifying. The Dawn Treader being thrown around like a toy, everyone fighting just to keep the ship afloat. Chaos.
And Durinian, practical even then, orders Lucy below deck to keep her safe.
A moment of care in the middle of the violence. When it finally passes, things are calmer. But
They have a new problem. Water. Fresh water.
Oh.
The casks leaked during the storm.
their supply is dangerously low. And they've got plenty of wine and rum, but that's no good when you're dying of thirst. Makes it worse, actually.
So they're forced to find land, find water. They end up sailing into this bay, almost like a fjord, but the island feels wrong.
Yeah, Dragon Island. It's described as oppressive, unwelcoming, Not a friendly place.
And Eustace, back to his old self maybe, decides he's bored with ship duties and wanders off alone.
Wants to escape the work, basically. Though, interestingly, the climb up the mountains is easier than he expects. He's getting fitter.
Even if his attitude hasn't quite caught up yet, he stumbles into a cave.
And it's full of treasure. A dragon's hoard.
Yeah.
Gold, jewels.
His first thought, personal gain. How he can use this, maybe escape to Caelorman, live like a king.
The old Eustace is definitely still there. He even slips on a gold bracelet before falling asleep on the treasure pile.
But waking up is not pleasant. His arm hurts, the bracelet feels tight, and then he sees his reflection.
In the pool of water.
Yeah.
And sees a dragon looking back at him.
Utter horror. He realizes he is the dragon. Can you imagine that moment of dawning terror?
It's profound. His inner greed, his dragonish thoughts, have literally become his outer form. He sees another dragon nearby too, but it's dead.
Seeing his own reflection, mimicking his movements, he panics, tries to get away. But then he has this dream.
A powerful dream. A great lion, Aslan, telling him to follow.
A glimmer of hope. A different path opening up.
Seems like it. A crucial moment.
Yeah.
He wakes up, still a dragon, and tries desperately to shed the skin, like peeling off layers.
But it's painful and it doesn't quite work. He peels off layer after layer, but the dragon skin is still there underneath. He realizes he can't do it himself.
He needs help. He needs Aslan.
And Aslan appears.
Yes. Aslan takes him to a well, tells him to undress, meaning shed the skin. Eustace tries, but can't. Then Aslan's claws, they tear the skin off. Deeply, painfully.
Wow, sounds intense, but necessary.
Absolutely. Aslan tears away that final, deepest layer of dragonness, throws him in the water, and he comes out. A boy again. Cleaned, changed.
A complete transformation, not just skin deep.
No, a fundamental change. It's a powerful image of repentance and grace, needing that divine help to truly overcome the monstrous parts of ourselves.
So Eustace, now somehow able to fly as a dragon just before the final change, flies back to the others.
Who, understandably, see a dragon landing on the beach and prepare to fight. Alarm bells ringing.
But this dragon isn't acting like a normal dragon. It backs away, seems distressed, it even cries. Dragon tears.
That must have confused them. The tears, the head wagging. It signals something isn't right. This isn't just a beast.
And then Eustace manages to communicate somehow, or maybe after he's changed back, he tells them the whole story.
Yeah, he recounts the whole thing. Finding the hoard, the transformation, the dream, Haviland's intervention. Must have been quite a confession. Humbling.
And they also find the body of that other dragon.
Yeah.
They figure out it must have been the water in that pool that killed it. Perhaps it came there injured. A dangerous island all around.
Definitely. Eustace's story, though, it marks a huge shift for him, actually sharing his vulnerability. And the dead dragon is a stark warning about greed.
They sail on. Find another island. Looks much nicer. A green bay. Time to get more water.
Drinian, being Drinian, is set on using a specific stream, the eastern one, even though it's raining, and the others suggest a closer, easier one.
A bit stubborn, maybe. Sailor's instinct.
Could be. Or just set in his way sometimes. Even good leaders have their moments.
So they head up towards this eastern stream. Finds its source is a mountain lake. And Edmund finds something by the shore.
Something glinting. A sword hilt.
Oh.
Old, rusted, but definitely Narnian. Intriguing.
And then the sun comes out, breaks through the clouds, and they see it.
What do they see?
At the bottom of the lake, which is perfectly clear, a statue. A life-size figure of a man made entirely of gold lying there.
Wow, a golden statue at the bottom of a lake.
That's incredible. Magical.
Breathtaking. But then they try to figure out how to get it. It seems impossibly heavy. Even touching it with a spear makes the spear feel like lead.
Something's not right. It's too heavy.
And Edmund puts it together. He looks down.
Yeah.
His boots dipped in the water, and the toes are turning to gold. No way. The water itself.
The water turns anything that touches it into solid gold. That figure isn't a statue. It's a person. The island's old king, maybe? Turned to gold? Forever.
Good heavens, that's chilling.
Yeah.
A Midas touch, but for water. Wealth, but deadly. What a discovery.
A really sobering thought about riches, isn't it? Corrupting, even fatal.
Absolutely. Caspian, being cautious, tests it, dips a bit of heather in.
And poof, instantly solid gold. Hard, heavy. No doubt about it. This island has a powerful, dangerous magic.
A potent reminder that not all that glitters is, well, safe or even desirable.
As we wrap up this part of their journey, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How these crazy, unexpected trips, even the scary parts, they lead to huge discoveries.
Not just about islands and magic, but about themselves, too. Their own insides.
Yeah, it kind of pushes you to wonder about your own life, what hidden strengths, or maybe, like Eustace, what transformations might be waiting in our unexpected moments, the metaphorical journeys we all take.
That's really true. These outside challenges, they really force internal growth.
Mhm.
Eustace is the obvious example, turning from a dragon back to a boy, but a better boy.
But it happens to all of them in smaller ways. They're learning, adapting, facing tough choices, seeing the world and themselves differently.
Exactly. It's about how they navigate it all. The good, the bad, the weirdly magical.
Definitely. Well, if listening to this part of the Dawn Treader's voyage got you thinking, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next exploration.
And share it with anyone else who loves a good adventure story or thinking about these kinds of journeys.
Absolutely. And if you want to read the original story yourself, check out the link in our description to get the book. As always, think critically about the tales you hear, what resonates with you.
And that final thought to chew on. What hidden potentials inside you might come to light when you face your own unexpected voyages?